Hello high tier players. This video is about Schedule 1 and why this indie game is making such big waves. I will also include some tips, tricks, and advice for progressing through the various game tiers in order to help you avoid and deal with some of that jankiness that's in the early access. And there will be spoilers in the form of item names, so you might not want to watch this if you wanted to be surprised as you're unlocking the higher tiers. And I'll finish it all off with showing off my personal setup and solutions to a lot of the logistics issues that people have been encountering once you hit the final tier. So if your setup is janky and they don't seem to be optimized properly on that final bit, you are not going to want to miss that last part. Now, before we get started, I'm going to introduce you to a system of code names that we used to use back when I was younger to discuss certain substances in questionable company, shall we say. So this system used women's names for these various substances so that we don't trip the YouTube censor. We will be using Mary for tier 1, Amanda for Breaking Bad tier, and Kaitlyn for the Narcos tier. So the reason I think this game is doing well is because we're kind of in a time right now where AAA slop is probably worse than ever, and they're failing to deliver on virtually anything, even the basics that we would expect in a game. This project, on the other hand, is refreshingly fun, simple, but offers a lot to both solo and group players, especially if the roadmap ends up coming true. So starting off at Mary tier, the game is extremely straightforward, and while you can start getting fancy very quickly with mixing strains, it's simply not necessary, nor is it particularly cost efficient. At this point, the game is still hand-holding you most of the way, and you're not really required to do much other than learn the basic systems of the game. Do not mess around with quality, as it only matters later when you hit people with a higher minimum standard quality, and you have to match it in order to get any decent odds of getting them as customers. For the early game, this just ends up being a waste of money, and you can't actually charge a whole lot more for these quality increases. At Amanda tier, the game starts to drop off somewhat due to development only having made it about this far. You'll notice that quests disappear, for example, shortly after you get to around the bungalow stage and never return. This is the tier where making some mixed flavors will finally start to add a significant amount of value to your products, far beyond what you're having to invest in order to get the added ingredients. So I would recommend at this point to start adding at least one additional quality from the higher tier, whatever's costing $9 or more, if not going for a dual quality with a secret quality unlocked, such as explosive or electrifying. Now, before we get into the final tier, let's take a quick look at the roundup of roadmapped features that are at the least being very strongly considered for development. The first up would be traveling customers. What we understand so far is that these are going to be NPCs of special quality, whether that's in the form of deals or they just have some kind of special quality, we're not sure yet. But they will be moving in between the map areas instead of what currently exists, which is they follow a preset route. So these NPCs could migrate between areas and they could be very difficult to find. There will be a fishing minigame added, probably to the area on the docks where we see Randy's bait and tackle shop already there. And then we also have dynamic weather. This is pretty self-explanatory, as we already have the day and night cycle. We'll probably start seeing things like rain, cloudiness, and possibly even different seasonal weather, whether or not they decide to do that or not. We'll see property customization in the form of the ability to paint exteriors and also do things like decorate walls with various patterns or colors. There will be cartel interactions of various sorts being added into the game. These may include things like raiding strongholds, having them interrupt some of your supply routes, attacking your dealers, attacking your actual locations, whether or not there's detection systems for that. There's a lot that could go into this, and honestly, I think this is going to be one of the more complicated features for them to implement, but it would add a great deal of depth into the game, because right now there's just not a whole lot of difficulty, if I'm being honest. The cops are extremely easy to get around, and quite frankly, even the curfew time just doesn't add very much that you have to be worried about. You can just walk around these guys. It's very simple. The next one is a shooting range minigame. This one's pretty self-explanatory as well. You can probably get a good idea from if you've played any of the Zelda games. They always have those archery or the slingshot shooting games. It's going to be very similar to that. Next, we have more products and higher tiers, plus the equipment to make those new products. As we expected, there will be some new substances joining the family, and we will have equipment necessary in order to make those. There will also be some breadth of variety to existing ones, such as edibles being added to Mary tier. Then we're going to have parkour movement upgrades. These are going to be significant in terms of double jumps or mobility. Whether or not this is going to be extended to vehicles or some kind of specialty fun vehicles, I don't know yet. We'll have to see how they actually plan on implementing this. This could be either a lot or a very simple upgrade, depending on how they decide to go. Then we have the Southwest Ghetto area, as well as the Northeast Rich Gated area that are going to be added. I'm not sure how large these areas are going to be. My guess would be the Ghetto area probably has some special qualities to it, like maybe increased danger, maybe you get attacked by some strange crackheads or something, I don't know. And then the Rich Gated community, I would imagine, probably is very good for if you want to pickpocket or steal things. So let's see if they, also the demand for products in those areas will probably be related to what they can afford, shall we say. And lastly, we saw hireable drivers that can move items between facilities. This is especially significant for me, as you'll see in this final section of the video, because of my setup. There is more listed on this, but I consider the others smaller or convenience upgrades. You can look for yourself at the full site in the description link if you want to see them all. Finally, at least for now, the Kaitlyn tier is the highest available, but also clearly the most unfinished and unpolished. As many have reached this level have noticed, the layout of the warehouse, the final location, doesn't quite work with the current limitations of the game. For instance, you can't hire enough workers to automate all of the machinery in that large space, and worker behaviors are currently very limited to the point where optimization of most narco setups, it's just not possible. The math just doesn't work out. So my personal solution to this was to switch up products entirely from one tier to the next, and I would treat each new location that I bought as a new link in the production chain instead of making each one its own standalone factory producing an entire product out of that one facility. So at Endgame, for example, my warehouse is geared entirely towards producing high quality Kaitlyn leaves. This is 48 plants being tended to by 6 botanists, with 2 more botanists tending to 16 dry racks in the back and 2 cleaners to make sure the place doesn't become an absolute pigsty. Next up, I renovated the barn to host 12 cauldrons and 12 lab ovens, tended to by 6 chemists and all being restocked by 3 packagers. So all I have to do is drop off the leaves in the middle and pick up the cooked product at the barn entrance. Also, my barn bugged out and one of my packagers despawned when a delivery van spawned in. But other than that, the facility is nearly perfect. And my bungalow has been transformed into the final mixing stage. Now, while there are possibly some better setups out there, they probably use exploits or something of the sort. This uses none of that, and the setup creates about 20 bricks of triple additive quality Kaitlyn per day, and my network alone pulls in easily $100,000 per day. So what do you think about Schedule 1? Do you think the studio will be able to deliver on their vision? Is there something on your wish list that you'd like to see added to Schedule 1 that you don't see on their roadmap? Let me know in the comments below. Stay on that high tier, players. The view from here is always worth it.